Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and you are very welcome to this video of the July garden tour with tips of what to do now in your garden. Now, it has been very difficult weather for us gardeners here in Ireland because it has just bucketed rain for the last weeks. It's meant that the garden has recovered nicely from the dry spell we had a little while ago. The grass has turned back to a lovely lush green and everything is set about growing to, to enormous heights. But it's been difficult for the gardener because it means that we can't get out to do the things that we need to do to maintain the garden and have it looking its best. But the garden is looking super now, and I want to share it with you by taking you around and showing you what's looking good and what we need to do in our gardens in July. If you are new to my channel, then know that I garden in Southern Ireland. My garden, it's an acre in size, that's about half a hectare, and it's in a rural setting. It was a greenfield site when we moved in about 23 years ago. So I garden in what roughly equates to as hardiness zone 9. Now don't take that as gospel, it's a rough guide because we don't use that system here in Ireland. And the name Douentza. The garden and house are named after a town in Mali in West Africa where we spent some time many years ago. If, however, you're a veteran of my channel and have been watching me for some 10 years on here, then do stay tuned to the very end of the video where I have a little bit of a news update that might be of interest to you. So, the garden tour, and we're starting right here in what I call my long border because lots of lilies are bursting into flower, and I really do like to think of July as month of the lilies. Look at the height of that, and yes, I grow a lot of OT lilies, what you call in America OT lilies, and what we call tree lilies here in this part of the world, and they do so well in the garden. Mostly they stand up, they need no staking, and they just look fantastic in July. Now some gardeners won't grow lilies because of their short flowering period. The same with irises. Gardeners don't want prima donnas like these in their garden, things that will flower for a very brief period of time. But I say to you that gardening is an ephemeral thing, and we need to take what's here and now and enjoy it to the full. And part of the beauty is that these things don't last a terrible long time. They fade and they move on, and then we need to find something else to look at, and that's the challenge of gardening. The tall yellow lily I have no name for, but it is very similar in appearance to Manissa and to Conquidor, both of which I grow elsewhere in the garden. This other one with the touches of brown and yellow, however, is a Lavin tree lily. And wow, it's just coming into bloom just in honour of this video. This is an absolutely gorgeous lily, and so many of these tall lilies are beautifully scented. So as you walk around the garden, it comes in wafts, and I just love that. And moving on over here to the rest of the long border, you can see a little something in there. Can you see that white lily right in there in the middle? And this, of course, is a mistake. And moving away from those lilies and into what I call the long border, we've a couple of things of note, one of which is the giant Cotinus grace at the back, which just looks fabulous with her big leaves at this time of the year. Now the theme in this border is basically orange, and the main Alstroemeria aureana has begun to go over at this stage. I do of course continue to deadhead, and you all know the trick with deadheading Alstroemeria or Peruvian lilies. You need to pull them out completely. So you go in here, you tug, and out it comes. Brutal though it seems, this is the way that you need to deadhead this plant to stimulate production of new shoots with new flowers from the base. In terms of other things to do in July, you'll notice that some of my astrantias have been cut back and are already resprouting. This one here has vigorous new shoots, and that's because I feed after cutting back. Others, on the other hand, need to be cut back, and still more of them are continuing to flower at this point in time. So you need to stay on top of it and do what needs to be done as soon as it needs to be done. And if you're looking for instructions on how to deadhead your alstroemeria or how to cut back your astrantias, then I'll link at the very end of this video to 2 videos that will show you how to do it, and I'll pop the link down in the description below. This beautiful alstroemeria here with the dark foliage is called Indian Summer, and I have been deadheading it. And when I started deadheading it, I decided to restake it. It had been staked beautifully beforehand, but I did notice that some spikes of the alstroemeria had come up outside of the peony hoop, so I decided I'd just fix it. I lifted the peony hoops and I put them down again, ensuring that I took all of the spikes in. But it was a big mistake, because now the thing looks like it's been trussed up, whereas before it looked very natural. And the spikes that were outside of the peony hoops hadn't managed to stand up by themselves anyway. So I have a lesson for myself there, really. Sometimes it's best to leave well enough alone. Do you like the orange daylily just to the left? It's a double called Douentza or something like that. And it has been in this border a long time. However, I divided and moved it around in spring, with the result that now it actually flowers so that you can see it. Let's move on over here to this other arm of the long border to have a look at a hydrangea. Over here we have dear Annabelle, and I'm sure you all know hydrangea Annabelle. It's a real classic and so fantastic with its enormous white puff balls. And this is planted in a shaded area, which is just wonderful for Annabelle. It helps her keep going and to stand upright and do the things that she should do. She's accompanied by Brunnera and, well, Corydalis, which is just finishing up, and some hostas. And a job to do right now in the garden is to deadhead your hostas. And that brings me on to another job that you should do in July, which is to deadhead your hostas. The flowers on your hostas have probably gone over by late July, and it's time to cut those spikes to the base. I've already done it here with this hosta, and it looks so much neater than this other one. This hosta, however, has only been partially deadheaded. I did take off some spent spikes earlier on, but left the flowers until they finished completely. Now they've pretty much finished completely, and they're just detracting from the leaf of this hosta, which actually is very little eaten by slugs. So a definite plus, and something we don't want to detract from. Just beside it we have an unusual little persicaria, which is grown for its fantastic leaves. So pretty, with different splodges and markings. Crocosmia lucifer is doing quite well, although a bit floppity-doppity in this central border. And my hydrangeas, of course, are blue, as they always are, because I have acidic soil. It's been a great year for the hydrangeas. You already saw the one at the centre of the long border, and here's another one in an adjacent border, and it's just looking fantastic. It's beginning to flop a little bit at this stage, but holding up quite well. Just beside it we have my lasagna bed. I can't wait to plant this up. Although I'm still collecting plants to put in it. It's going to be fantastic. So just pretend you don't see that bit of plastic of membrane there on the right, and take a look at this arm of the long border, the back of the lilies, looking fantastic. At the foot of the Paulonia tree we have one of my favourite plants for shade, and this is Astilboides tabularis. Apparently originally it was classified as a regersea, but not anymore. Anyway, it's just fantastic for these big leaves, and it can take full sun as well, as long as there's plenty of rain. And just a little bit further over we have my roscoas, or hardy gingers, which are, well, they're flowering quite nicely now. I think this is quite a nice view because you have the big leaves of the Astilboides there below the Paulonia, which itself has very large leaves, because I pollard this tree every year so that I get giant leaves instead of flowers. It's time to head up the garden now, past the box balls and this kind of walkway which I have here. But I do want to give you a brief look down the paths here and further along there. This path is flanked by Stipa gigantea, which is the tall grass at the top two corners and the bottom two corners. And it is a straight path with Francoa on the right, pink giant, and Monarda Cambridge Scarlet on the left. A lovely, I don't know, I always feel like I'm surrounded by planting when I go down there, because it's a little bit squishy and the grasses kind of fall over you, but it's a really nice spot. And just a little bit further over we have another path, this time flanked by Kinnicloa rubra, which is the New Zealand tussock grass, more difficult to get through than the previous one. And down here, oh dear, big Tetrapanix leaf has decided to fall down from the tree. I'll need to pick that up. Again, we have the Francoa, we have some hostas, and we have, well, Tetrapanix obviously above, but we have lilies come into flower, and this one is Conquador. I guess this one is a more uniformly yellow one than the unnamed one down in the long border. I adore the big dusky stamens with the pollen that will stain to high heaven if you touch it. It's just such a fantastic feature. I've heard that florists sometimes cut these off, or if people bring lilies into the house, they cut these off. Just not right. And the scent down here is just fabulous. So, just taking a step back from that path there with a giant Tetrapanix rex leaf, I just wanted to show you the planting out here at the front, because this Crocosmia is looking absolutely fantastic at the moment. It's so beautiful and quite well behaved, although I do need to divide it. Of course, dividing Crocosmias will need to take place in spring, not autumn, because it flowers late. So basically, as a rule of thumb, if something flowers late in the garden, then you should divide it in spring rather than autumn. Whereas normally everything can be divided in either spring or autumn, all the perennials anyway. And another job for July is to deadhead your regersias if you haven't done it already in June. And I grow a lot of regersias. They're fantastic for a shady spot, and their leaves just add such texture and interest. The flowers are great too, but once they start to go over, they are kind of brown and yucky. And if you honestly look at a clump of regersia with gone over flowers, you can see that it detracts, the flowers detract from the overall view. So I always deadhead them. And on we go to this section of the garden, and as you'll see, I've done quite a bit of pruning. The mock oranges, the Douentzias, yeah, a lot of pruning this year. And that brings me on to another tip for July. In July, you need to prune your mock oranges if you haven't done so already. So different varieties of mock oranges flower at different times. Some of mine have flowered and gone, and these were pruned back in June. But the vast majority of mine, which are in a large hedge, they flower later, and only just now have they finished blooming. So a job I hate for July is to prune my mock oranges, and there's a link in the video description down below of how exactly to do that. In this border, the lilies are just about to open, but generally speaking, it's quite lacking. It's fine early on. This is where my Ito hybrid peonies live, but I really need an injection of colour there now. So something for semi-shade. I'm not quite sure what colour theme I'll go for because I've got both orange and pink in here. But you know what? I like orange and pink. I like them together. And on this side we have a bed where I suppose the stipa, the grass, really shines. And I really like this bed. It's got 2 Sarracenia planters in it. These are planters for insectivores. And a lot of Stipa tenuissima, which is a short grass. But this year I've interplanted it with a lovely summer flowering allium and also a gorgeous, gorgeous little annual tagetes, one that I lost in the long border down below, which you may recall from my video about the gripes, but it's doing well here and the slugs haven't found it yet. And now we head up here to the rest of the garden. Hydrangea aspera is looking fantastic this year with enormous, enormous leaves. Lobelia tupa is in full flower and I seem to have staked it sufficiently this year that it's not kind of cascading down on the grass. And just there, just beyond the Lobelia tupa, we have a couple of trees that I've topiaried. And here we have a laurel, so a bay tree, which is kind of a lollipop, well, as best as I can get it. And just to the left of it, we have a luma or a myrtle. And this particular cultivar is called Glanleam Gold because it was found in Glanleam Garden in the south of Ireland. And it has variegated leaves, a really, really pretty tree. And this one has also been cut into a lollipop shape. This border is very kind of loosey-goosey and free and easy with lots of shrubs just doing their thing, including the Persicaria red dragon, which is the red one there to the left. So I think a little bit of structure in the form of these 2 trees that are topiaried really add to it. Another job for July is to lift and divide your bearded irises if they need it. This needs to be done every couple of years, and if your plants have stopped flowering, then it's definitely time to do it. I'll link at the end to my how-to video on dividing and lifting bearded irises. Now it's time to head on over here to the border in front of the glass house. I'm really pleased with how this border is shaping up. It has been revamped over the course of a couple of years, and really what I like about it first of all is that it's quite deep. So if you have deep enough a border, then you can afford to kind of play around with colours and plants a bit better. Now you'll recall that way back in spring the column of clematis just there on the right, which is Montana, it's Clematis montana, draped over a stump, was in full flower and looked absolutely amazing. But that was a long time ago, and since then we've had various things shine, such as the delphinium, the coral coloured delphinium, which I featured in my video about 6 gripes for this summer. I won't say a lot about it now, except that it really is strong and it really does flower for a very, very long time. Behind it we have Douentza personata, which is a fantastic plant. Flowers all summer long. I really mean it, all summer long. It does need staking, but it's hardy as well, which is a definite plus because normally Douentzas, the kind of ground cover ones, pretty though they are, and although they do flower all summer long as well, they aren't hardy here in Ireland. And at the back of the border you can see that the lily called Manissa is just opening. It's about halfway there and the scent is amazing. Personally, I don't like to be too rigid, too strict with colour combinations, as you can see by the fact that I have this yellow lily at the back of what is essentially a pink and orange border. But I think, you know, the real thing is down to shade, the shade of the colour of the flowers. And if you can look at it and if it looks good to you, then that's the main thing. And this really is the disadvantage with buying plants by post. You're working from a picture that supposedly shows you the colour of the flower. A lot of them are photoshopped and a lot of them are just taken on a bad day when the flower isn't its true colour. So it's quite difficult. Much better to buy plants when you can see their true colour and see them in flower. The helenium here is Sahin's early flowerer, which is much loved by many gardeners in Ireland, and I see why now. It does flower a lot longer than some of the other ones. And here we have that allium you saw in the Sarracenia bed, and here it has just grown enormous. I have no idea why, because it was bought from the same source and in the same packet really as the ones that you saw in the previous bed, yet these are so big. And my source of course is Bulby, which is a Dutch company in the Netherlands, and yeah, okay, I'm not going to go on about them, but I love them for a variety of bulbs that you can plant in autumn for spring, and then they also do perennial plants that you can buy in spring and have them for summer. But anyway, if you're interested, links and discount code are down below in the description of this video. And another beautiful allium that I bought from Bulby last autumn is this one here, the Mohican Red. Isn't it just fantastic? And these alliums are gravity defying. They just hold themselves up, which is quite amazing. And moving over to just in front of the glass house. Here we have a lot of green, a lot of calm. Oh, look at my alocasia. This is the one I grew from a berry 14 years ago. The one that flowered last winter for the first time, and so many people say that it will die after it flowers. Well, it bloomin' well didn't. It's gone on from strength to strength and is looking massive this year. But you know what? We'll leave talk of the alocasia to my next greenhouse tour. And a little pan up of the border beside the greenhouse, where hydrangea and geranium are really the kings. Okay, we're now going to head over to the other side of the garden, the smaller side of the garden, and I feature it last this time because we were there very recently when I gave you the cosmos update. But I do have a few nice things to show you over there. Well, first up, we have a ramp. What's that for, you ask? Well, this is for our robotic lawnmower to allow it to get up on this side of the garden to mow the grass. And I did make a video a little while ago, which very few of you watched. And it was about how I set up the robotic mower. It had been set up for the other side of the garden, which is by far the largest section, but we needed to make a little ramp for this side, which we've done. And now Hooky, which is what he's called, gets up here. Normally I take the ramp away because it's not very sightly, but you know what? It does the job. And with that, we'll go into the garden and stop at Lilium Beijing Moon, which is looking fantastic. This is a beautiful pink and yellow and green lily called Beijing Moon. Doesn't it match my blouse so well? Fantastic. And if you consider that I'm 5'2", this lily is as tall as me. Now, I had it in a pot and just brought it to the front of the house every summer for 3 or 4 years. And now it's time for it to go into the ground, and it doesn't disappoint. It's just fantastic. I have had to stake it a little bit, but that's okay, I can manage. You will see another yellow lily behind. Oh, this is a yellow lily that we've had for many, many years, but you never saw it because it was between two mock orange bushes. and it flowered in between them every year. But when I took out the one mock orange bush this year, now finally you can see it. You can tell it's been a wet year by the fact that the astilbe is looking so well. In this part of the garden we have Melianthus major, foliage smelling like peanut butter, looking fantastic, and more Astilboides tabularis. I did mention it was one of my favourite plants. And across from it, and very hard to photograph, is cosmos. Lots and lots of cosmos, just awash with bees and bringing so much happiness and joy and health into the garden. I always feel that about single flowers, that they do bring a touch of vitality that the double ones don't. Don't get me wrong, I do love double flowers, but yeah, this is gorgeous. I think if you're going to grow cosmos, plant them en masse. And if you want more information about my cosmos, which ones I grew this year, then do check out the previous video on, well, the 6 cosmos I grew this year and my update on them. Another important job for July is to continue to deadhead not just your annuals like cosmos, but many plants that are in your garden, some of which we've already touched on, like the regersias and the hostas. And our last leg of the garden tour is past the Paulonia to see the Hoharia tree. And this is my Hoharia tree, a mass of flowers which are just kind of dropping on the ground at the moment like confetti. It smells absolutely amazing, and it is awash with bees. You can hear the buzzing deep inside the plant. I'm not quite sure where. A fantastic tree that I've had in the garden for a very long time. Now in 2009, 2010 we had a really harsh winter here in Ireland, and I lost this tree, or so I thought. In any case, it disappeared, it died. I cut it to the ground, but it resprouted and it resprouted multi-stemmed. And just recently I have removed some of those stems, just leaving 2. And this, about 2 years ago it flowered for the first time, and it was so worth the wait. And so with the glory of the Hoharia tree and the buzz of the bees in the background, I will call an end to this July garden update. Thank you for watching. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, then I just wanted to let you know very briefly that I am reconsidering things. And I've been making videos for 10 years, and just recently it's become quite difficult on YouTube. The algorithm has changed, and the way it works is that unless you make videos about what the majority of your subscribers watch, you'll get no traction. So the majority of you watch garden tour videos, and that's great. And it used to be that a YouTuber could diversify and do different things, but now it's become increasingly more difficult. So if I publish a video that isn't about outdoor gardening things and people don't watch it, then the algorithm says, oh, her subscribers aren't interested, I won't show the video to anybody else, and my videos get very low ratings, which is quite discouraging. And I've had to reconsider things, also in view of the fact that I had a big birthday there recently. I became 60 years old, and I do need to consider what I'm doing with my time. I love to visit foreign countries, I love to see plants growing in the wild, and I love to video that and bring it to you, but unfortunately those videos just aren't being shared enough because of the way the algorithm works. And okay, I mean, if you're watching this, it's because you're interested, I guess, mostly in outdoor gardening things, and that's fine. But it would be nice if the other videos could be shown by YouTube to the people who are interested in them, and it just doesn't seem to be working that way. So I have to assess things and reassess things. But in any case, please enjoy my video on my channel for as long as it's going, and thank you for your loyal support in subscribing and following and all of the great things that you do over the course of the channel's life. I hope you're enjoying your garden this summer. Thanks for watching. Bye.